keep us down. They want to keep it secret. But people, united. All the way at the top, they don't get champagne by the leaders. All my leaders, elitist. I'm sick of broken treaties. I'm sick of how they treat us. The people, united. The power of the people, stronger than people in power. They're powered by the people. We put those people in power. Hours turn to days, days into decades. Work 8 to 6 to raise my kid. I'm living in a debt age. Still, the block is hot. Pipelines from the Barren Sea. Pipes where the bear should be. We need solidarity. We need solid air to breathe. Won't weep if we reap what we sowed. We believe giving each equal piece. That's the goal. We don't steal. We don't scheme. This ain't no play on no game on no board. When the stakes is your life, you take in what's yours. Sky is the limit. They don't want to see us reach it. They want to keep us down. They want to keep it secret. The people united.
Will never be defeated.
The people united.
Will never be defeated.
The people united.
Will never be defeated.
There's been a lot of controversy surrounding legal aid lately. The summer of 2019, legal aid tops the trending charts of Google, following August 2017 closely in the number of searches. Still, this subject has not held the limelight in almost a decade. However, legal aid has been around for much longer than that. It started as a system where volunteer lawyers would help those who required assistance. The implementation of the first plan was organized in 1951. In 1967, a committee was formally assembled to figure out the best way to assist this budding service. In 1977, there were 13 legal aid clinics being funded in Ontario. Now, there are 72. We then reached out to Neighborhood Legal Service to gather some experts on the topic.
So my name is Jack DeClercq and I'm the Executive Director at Neighborhood Legal Services.
My name is Blessing Samuel. I'm an IAN staff investing in neighborhood.
My name is Nazareth Maines. I'm one of the lawyers here at Neighborhood Legal Services, and I specialize in the area of income security, and I do some housing law work as well.
Who does legal aid serve? And why is there such a demand for this service?
So our clients are those who fit within the financial criteria.
Newcomers often, depending on if they're coming, if they were refugees, or if they're just getting settled here, they might have a harder time getting settled.
They're folks that are citizens and have been here for a very long time as well, who are experiencing eviction applications that their landlords have filed.
Some of them are on the street, not even the shelters. They come here for help for one thing or the other, and we just do our best to give them the best we can.
We also serve clients looking for income security assistance, and that's clients who, let's say, who have absolutely no income.
For example, a senior citizen who's getting Canada pension, old age security, they will be getting about $1,400 a month, and they just barely qualify for services. So if you're making more than $20,000 a year, you probably, as an individual, you probably don't qualify for legal aid.
Our help for those clients looks like, getting the necessary medical documents just to be able to demonstrate that you're either unable to work, take care of yourself, or to participate in the community because of your disabilities. And a lot of the clients that we see who are looking for that kind of assistance just don't have the ability to be able to organize themselves in that way, or just don't have the legal knowledge, or both. If you think about it, someone is homeless, they would need to travel with all of their documents with them all the time, right? Yeah. That's in addition to all of the belongings that they have. So a lot of clients who are within the shelter system will have their medications stolen from them. And sold on the black market. So there are a lot of difficulties that I think we're not aware of for those of us who sort of take our privilege for granted in terms of having a place to live.
There is almost 1,000 homeless in Toronto. The top 3 factors of this are migration, eviction, and the skyrocketing housing prices of the city. Getting into social housing has become wishful thinking. With waiting lists 100,000 households long, most clients are either forced to wait in the streets or shelters, if they even sign up at all. With services like food banks hitting the wall with the amount of demand and accessible childcare still being out of reach for most parents, we're getting a clearer vision of the importance of legal aid.
The government has announced that legal aid will be cut by 30% this year, and that there will be further cuts next year.
So Doug Ford has cut a substantial amount of money. The Ministry of the Attorney General has made cuts to Legal Aid Ontario. Legal Aid Ontario has absorbed some of the cuts and then passed off the rest of the cuts onto legal clinics.
The $133 million loss hit clinics across Ontario effective immediately. And the workers are left scrambling to save what they can.
The 30% cut to legal aid means for this clinic a 10% cut in our budget.
Sorry, the workload is definitely going to change because we're short-staffed, so the few of us that are left over are going to have to take on more work.
Normally, a staff person might see over the course of the year maybe 150 to 200 people. If there's 2 people less, that means 3 or 4 or 500 people aren't going to get the help that they had in the past.
If anyone needs support on legal aid, feel free to call my office. I will guarantee you that you will have legal aid.
This promise by Ford is yet to be followed through.
My name's Dana Fisher. I'm a staff lawyer in criminal duty counsel at Legal Aid Ontario with College Park Duty Counsel office.
My name is Michaela Bieder and I'm a psychiatrist working in Toronto, in fact working in Regent Park.
So some of the impacts that we've really noticed has been there's a drastic increase in the number of bails that duty counsel are now required to assist with. It's creating quite the busyness in those courts and the delay in those courts as well.
Say that you are already struggling with your mental health and then you're facing eviction, and in the past it would have been easier to access a lawyer to support you through that process, and now that's going to be much more difficult because a lot of clinics have had to lay off people. There's some legal clinics that are specialty legal clinics that were doing systemic advocacy work.
What Legal Aid has done has been cut down on services that we've provided in other areas, reducing the number of types of assists that we can offer and not staffing courts that we would normally have staffed.
So for example, income, housing, nutritious food, access to all of the things that make people be able to live healthy lives.
Lawyers now charge anywhere from $300 to $1,000 an hour, and if you're having trouble paying the rent, then you're not going to have enough money to pay for a lawyer.
There's a change that is coming into effect. We don't know exactly when, but it's coming into effect in regards to the ODSP Act, which is going to change the definition of disability, needing to be somebody who's substantially disabled to being someone who is severely disabled. So it's very likely that that change, once it comes into effect, is going to result in an increase in clients, because it's going to be harder for folks to get onto the program.
It really illustrates how the assertion by the government that these cuts are not going to affect service, it's just not true.
Legal aid clinics now face the decision of laying off workers to face these cuts. After all, budgeting for pens and printer paper can only save you so much. Some clinics face moving to temporary locations in order to save money on office space, which can mean moving away from areas that need their services the most. There is a panic, a struggle, a standstill happening all at once.
One thing is that these cuts aren't actually going to save anybody any money, so I think that's a really key factor to consider.
With increased homelessness, what you have is you'll have clients that will use emergency services a lot more often for situations that are not really emergencies. You'll have clients needing to use shelters more often. That's going to result in money from the city.
What we are doing is we are making the most vulnerable people have reduced access to justice.
If they were to increase taxes for higher income people, they could make up that money very quickly.
Over the next few years, we're going to be seeing sort of the longer term impacts in terms of people losing their housing, not being able to fight to get their ODSP that they're eligible for.
When you look at the big picture, you're not really going to have savings, or if you have savings, they're going to be for like a really short period of time. But the added services that are going to be required as a result of these cuts are going to be, I think, far more expensive than simply not having made the cuts to begin with, right?
Those longer term impacts are ones that we're going to be seeing in Toronto, but also all across Ontario.
With these cuts to legal aid already having taken effect, all we can do is minimize the damage that it has caused. We need to be aware that this might be the last moments we have before irreversible destruction is brought upon our community. Doug Ford, if you're listening, here's what we have to say.
Your cuts are very short-sighted. You've made cuts to legal aid, you've made cuts to education, you've made cuts to healthcare that are going to impact people that were already living on the periphery.
Please stop the cuts. Please.
Anybody that has the power to do so, I would ask them to reverse the cuts. I would actually say that legal aid and the justice system in general needs an influx of funding as opposed to a cut of funding.
Ford, we ask you to immediately reverse these legal aid cuts. The whole health community is really calling for the legal aid cuts to be revoked and for funding to be reinstated for all of the legal aid clinics all across the province.